You're losing some cash in the flesh with a package from China, so let's go. Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a chit-chat about the 16-bit Pocket MD. So this is a portable Megadrive Sega Nomad. I've been looking, let's say, deep diving into these devices to see if there's anything good. Because I wanted to have a Sega Nomad for quite a long time now, complete with IPS panel. But these things are like super expensive. So I'm just looking into, let's say, all kinds of weird things I found on eBay, or let's say having something on AliExpress most of the time to see is it going to be any good. So this is quite an interesting one because this is going to be using just normal 4 batteries, and the overall design is quite similar, having the 6-button layout, and we do have like this very interesting D-pad, but it is quite tiny actually, and the feedback is okay. But later on let's check it out with some fighting games if it's going to be any good. So having the on and off switch over here, we do have a headphone jack out. We have an input for a power supply, seems to be like we're going to be having 5 volt, that is possible. So the cover itself, this is like one of those freaking annoying things. You can see that sometimes it's getting stuck, but it has to do with the plastic. So the overall quality is okay. We do have an AV out cable, so let's double check later on if this is going to be working at all. There is no other cable implemented in this package, so we're going to be needing to fix ourselves like something. I think we have this converter of USB to barrel jack, and we can just use a 5 volt adapter. So that's not going to be a big hassle if need to buy it separately. But let's plug it in and let's see what we're getting. I think maybe the biggest challenge is getting these batteries in because the construction is absolutely annoying. See, that's what I mean. So you need to be very gentle. Okay, so let's plug these things in. Okay, let's be very gentle. Let's do it a little bit ASMR. Ah! Batteries are in and everything seems to be working fine, but let's get into, let's say, the compatibility, because that is a little bit of a problem when it comes to these devices. Another thing I wanted to check out how it is when it comes to the Megadrive Pro. Can we also play those Mega CD games? So let's start off with just a multi-card. Just randomly pick something. Man, these games, putting them in. Oh man, this is going to be an absolutely issue. Okay, give me a second. And everything falls apart again. Yep, okay, fine. Okay, so let's take a close look at the menu itself and everything of the multi-card. I do have this flickering going on, that's mostly that has to do with the battery compartment. But how is with the audio? It's okay, it's quite okay, let's put it that. So you can see this is the region which has actually been set on. It's the Japan NTSC version, and I don't think I can even, let's say, switch it to something else. So we're stuck with one single region. So there's a little bit of a downside when it comes to this particular model, but it doesn't need to be a big of a deal. But let's boot it up. So the audio is going to be sounding messed up, absolutely. But let's get into some gaming over here. So the screen itself is tiny, it's absolutely tiny, but it is quite nice when it comes to the quality. So navigation is quite okay. So I think that has to do with the feel. I can really enjoy this, because with the simple reason, because this thing has a nice display, audio is okay. And we can actually use the D-pad without a lot of problems. So when it comes to playing games, and multi-games seems to be supported, so that's kind of cool when it comes to that. So let's move on to something else. Moving on to the Moto Trilogy game, but this one doesn't seem to be booting up. And I've noticed this before with some other clone devices. Yeah, there's like going to be a hit or miss also when it comes to the consoles itself. So man, these pins are really tight, to the point, particularly going to be having some, let's say, aftermarket stuff. But the flash card seems to be booting up, so that's absolutely awesome. Let's press start. Wasn't like Outrun loaded up into this? Yep. And we're using actually a different region. But when it comes for playing, that seems to be working all fine. So it's kind of cool that we can just implement the flash card, like a $15 flash card in this way, and we can just actually play. So that's kind of cool when it comes to that. So having multi-cards and having also flash cards that can even be used in this is absolutely a very cool add-on. What is kind of funny, when adding the Megadrive Pro to this, it went so much more smoothly. So the PCB thickness is completely different, but What is kind of interesting too is like where we have like the cheap flash card had the possibility to actually play, but somehow when it comes to this flash card, like the original one, clicks in perfectly, but doesn't do anything. Okay, so that is interesting that we even have limitation when it comes to flash cards. That's absolutely a big bummer. The TV out function seems to be working quite nice, and it seems to be also having the 4:3 aspect ratio with my monitor. Can also be done with the monitor itself, so take consideration if you're having a TV like this, you can just easily switch it out. But what is a little bit the biggest bummer about this just product itself, that we don't have any region switching, so we're just locked with one single region. It's absolutely downside. But the overall image quality is quite good when it comes to the signal output. I'm very surprised by that. But how about the audio from the television? Yeah, it sounds completely different, of course. But it's not like super bad. Of course, for an old AV out signal, I think if you're going to be connecting this to a CRT, I think it's going to be looking absolutely amazing. But fighting games, adventure games, you can just play them without any problem. So far everything seems to be working just fine, but again I mentioned before, it's unfortunate we have a limitation when it comes to the region, and we also have like limitations when it comes to compatibility with different kind of cartridges. So yeah, that's quite a little bit of a downside. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to check out, how is it when it comes to the D-pad? So it felt quite nice when it comes for adventure games or like say other stuff, but let's see how it is with fighting games. So the D-pad is quite small, so it's not like super comfortable, but the input response is just great. So if you just want to play some fighting games, this is just one of the ways to play. So if they made this thing a little bit bigger when it comes to, let's say, the D-pad, it would be perfect as it is. But one of the features you don't see very often is if you're going to be plugging this thing in and out, it automatically goes back to the display itself. So that part seems to be working perfectly. I'm really surprised by this. Of course, normally you always need to freaking reboot the device. So when it comes to this portable device, this is absolutely not the ultimate one to play. Depends also what kind of regions. If you just want to play, let's say, the Japan region of Sega, that would be an interesting way to play, because this thing does have like a lot of potential. Beautiful display, a little bit of a glossy front, let's say glass, and this very thin plastic. But I'm quite surprised with the quality and the way this thing plays, and also with the AV out. We do have limitation with special cartridges, that is one thing to be sure. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.